I wandered into the lodge hoping for a weekend getaway, cinematically speaking, of course. Something cozy, something chilling, maybe even something clever. Instead, I got the film equivalent of booking a remote cabin on Airbnb, only to arrive and discover the only thing stocked is disappointment and a suspiciously stained throw pillow. You know the drill. Cabin in the woods, lovers looking for a break, creepy caretaker, and the faint promise that somewhere, buried under the cliches, lies a thriller itching to surprise me. Now, to be fair, there is a twist here. A good one, actually, the sort of reveal that could have delivered a proper wallop had anyone bothered to build the foundations first. But as any seasoned horror fan knows, even the most impressive plot turn will flop harder than a poorly judged jump scare if you've spent the previous hour watching characters flatter than the lighting and dialogue dull enough to sand furniture with. The setup is almost aggressively ordinary. A couple heads into the woods for some romantic decompression. There's even a moment, blink and you'll miss it, where the film hints at giving us some character shading. She's offered what looks like a perfect chance to show off a bit of unexpected skill in a kickboxing lesson. This could have added texture, tension, and maybe even a cheeky reversal later on. But no, the script drops that idea faster than a slasher villain drops subtlety. The class is forgotten, the character depth untapped, and the opportunity to enrich the story abandoned like a half-finished sequel nobody asked for. Then there's the almost romance with the caretaker, a narrative thread I was convinced would go somewhere. Anywhere. Even the bargain bin section of emotional subplots would have sufficed. Instead, the film stiff-arms the possibility so completely that I wondered if a different draft of the screenplay had accidentally been shredded and fed to raccoons. A little flirtation could have created tension, conflict, stakes, basic story vitamins. But no, we're left with the blandest love story since that couple in the background of Titanic who just held hands and waited for the ship to do what it does best. The real trouble, though, the rot in this cinematic cabin, lies in the direction. You can practically feel the filmmaker straining to make scenes look interesting. And whenever you see the effort, you know something's gone wrong. Good direction is invisible. Great direction is magic. Here, it's more like watching someone perform card tricks with oven mitts on. Shots drag on, pacing wheezes. Scenes that should build dread instead collapse into passive, rainy day melancholy. I kept hoping for even a single moment where tension would take the wheel. A creeping shadow, a tightening frame, the sense that something horrible lurks just beyond the camera's edge. Instead, I got sequences so languid you could serve them with tea and call them relaxation therapy. Obi-Wan Kenobi once said, "These are not the droids you're looking for." Well, this is not the thriller you're looking for, unless what you're looking for is a masterclass in how not to keep your audience awake. Performances, to their slight credit, are not the worst offenders here. The cast tries, bless them, and though none of them seizes the spotlight, none of them embarrasses themselves either. But given how little they're allowed to do, it's a bit like praising someone for treading water in a kiddie pool. There are no standout characters, no memorable turns, no moments where you go, "Oh yes, that's the scene they'll use in the awards montage." Instead, everyone drifts along as if waiting for a direction note more specific than "look worried" or "walk over there." Had the script given its characters anything resembling dimension, a quirk, a flaw, a fear that wasn't telegraphed in neon, we might have felt something when the third act twist rolled in. And again, it's a good twist. One that deserved a runway, not a gravel patch. Think of it like the big reveal in The Usual Suspects. Except imagine if nobody had bothered to tell you who Kaiser Soze was in the first place. Great twist, zero impact. By the time the finale limps into view, the film has the energy of a wet Wednesday afternoon. You know the sort. You're off work sick, propped up in bed, watching whatever's on because the remote has fallen to the floor and you can't quite face bending down. And honestly, in that exact situation, the lodge is perfect. If you drift off halfway through, you won't miss much. If you wake up later confused, you'll be no more confused than you were while watching. At the end of the day, The Lodge isn't a disaster so much as a shrug of a movie. It's the cinematic equivalent of instant coffee served lukewarm, technically functional, mildly disappointing, and forgotten almost immediately. There's a solid thriller trapped in here somewhere, clawing at the walls like a better movie trying to escape, but it never breaks through. I wanted tension. I wanted suspense. I wanted at least one character who didn't feel like a cardboard standee left over from a previous, better film. What I got was a reminder that not every trip to a remote forest ends in horror. Sometimes it just ends in boredom. If you're ill, half asleep, and in desperate need of background noise, then congratulations, you found your movie. Otherwise, I'd advise you to check out of the lodge early.